Their mind is like a maze, layered with emotions and instincts, shaped by experiences and moments they can't always explain. When someone who once gave them attention and effort suddenly pulls back, it's not something they ignore. It sparks something deeper, something primal. The silence speaks louder than words, igniting curiosity, reflection, and perhaps even a lingering sense of loss. But why does this happen? What shifts in their thoughts when the familiar rhythm of your messages disappears? Why does the absence of contact seem to create more tension than presence ever could? This is where the timeless wisdom of Stoicism comes into play. When you master your emotions and choose to step back with intention, it's not about playing games or seeking revenge. It's about reclaiming your power. Detachment is not a lack of care, but a quiet confidence that lets you stand firm in your value. Think of it like a fire. When the fuel of constant interaction is removed, it forces them to notice the space you've left behind. That space isn't empty. It's filled with questions. What happened? Did they lose interest? Were they taken for granted? These thoughts can churn, revealing things they've been trying to avoid, even from themselves. When you stop trying to contact them, you create a moment of silence. And in that silence, they are left with their own thoughts. It's like standing in front of a mirror they didn't expect. They're forced to confront their own feelings, priorities, and sometimes even regrets. Marcus Aurelius once said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." By stepping back, you embody this strength. You show that your worth doesn't depend on chasing anyone, but rather in knowing who you are and what you bring to the table. This composure often speaks louder than any words you could send. Think about a river that flows freely. When the flow is constant, it's easy to take for granted. But when the river dries up, you begin to notice every pebble, every curve of the empty bed. Your absence does the same. It highlights your presence in a way your constant communication never could. This isn't about manipulation. It's about creating clarity, both for yourself and for them. Your silence isn't a weapon. It's a reflection of your inner peace. What unfolds next might surprise you. They may feel the weight of your absence more deeply than they ever acknowledged your presence. They may try to fill the silence with their own efforts, or they may realize they lost something rare and genuine. Either way, the power isn't in their response. It's in your decision to let go and trust yourself. This journey isn't always easy. It requires patience and self-control. But in those moments of doubt, remember Epictetus's wisdom. He who is not a slave to his desires is truly free. By stepping back, you free yourself from the need for external validation and rediscover the strength that comes from within. So, as you stop trying to contact them, understand that this is more than just a tactic. It's a shift in mindset. You're not just creating space, you're redefining the dynamic. You're proving that real connection isn't built on constant effort, but on mutual respect and value. And sometimes, the strongest move you can make is to simply do nothing at all. While you're at it, affirm your value and confidence. Type this in the comments. I naturally attract respect, love, and the right connections. Let that be your declaration. If this video resonated with you, don't leave without taking action. Hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and press the bell icon so you never miss life-changing insights like this. Sometimes, the strongest move is not to chase, but to step back. And trust me, the magic is just beginning. Let's unlock the power of your silence together. Number 1. When the silence shifts the dynamic. Imagine their mind as a still lake. Your steady presence has been the ripples, constant and predictable. Then, without warning, the ripples vanish. The surface becomes still, and in that silence, they begin to notice the absence of movement. The sudden quiet forces them to question, what changed? Why did it stop? It's not about your words anymore, it's about what your silence speaks. When you decide to stop reaching out, it can leave them unsettled. The steady rhythm of communication they've come to expect is gone. They may feel a flicker of curiosity, maybe even irritation, as they grapple with this shift. Were they taken for granted? Did something happen? These questions start to fill the void, creating an emotional stir they can't ignore. This is where Stoicism shows its timeless relevance. Marcus Aurelius reminds us, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." You can't control their reaction. You can't force them to see your worth or feel a certain way. But what you can do is control how you respond to this moment of silence. And that's where the transformation begins. When you've been the one always initiating, the one putting in the effort, you start to feel the imbalance. Maybe you've felt like you're chasing them, like your value in their life is tied to how much you give. But stepping back isn't about punishing them or playing games. It's about reclaiming your sense of self. It's a quiet act of self-respect. By withdrawing, you're not just giving them space to reflect. You're also creating space for yourself to grow. Picture this like a candle in a dark room. When it's burning, its presence is clear, but it's easy to overlook its importance. Blow it out, and suddenly the absence is glaring. That's the effect your silence has. It makes them see what they've been taking for granted. But here's the thing. Your silence isn't just for them, it's for you. It's a moment to pause and ask, does this connection align with my values? Am I being respected and valued, or am I just filling a void? Epictetus said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." By choosing silence, you're not reacting impulsively or emotionally. You're stepping back with purpose, giving yourself the clarity to see what truly matters. This isn't indifference, it's strength. They may feel surprised or confused by your silence. They might question why the dynamic has shifted. And while they're reflecting, you'll be cultivating something far more powerful: emotional independence. You're showing that your worth isn't tied to their response. This is the kind of self-assurance that can't be shaken, no matter what happens next. Your silence might prompt them to reassess their own actions, but whether or not they do is beyond your control. The real value lies in what this pause does for you. It's a reset. It's a reminder that your peace of mind isn't for sale. It's the foundation of a strength that doesn't bend for validation or crumble under rejection. Think of it like a storm passing through a forest. The trees that survive aren't the ones fighting against the wind, but the ones rooted deeply enough to bend without breaking. That's you when you embrace silence, not passive, but firmly grounded in your own value. By the end of this, they might see you differently, or they might not. But you'll walk away knowing you stood tall, centered in your worth. As Seneca said, the greatest wealth is to live content with little, even when that little is simply your own peace of mind. And that, in itself, is the most powerful shift of all. Number 2. When they start to see what they took for granted. Imagine you've been the sun in their world, always shining, always present. Then, one day, the sun doesn't rise. At first, they may not understand the change, but slowly they start to notice the shadows creeping in, the chill in the air. It's in this moment of absence that they begin to reflect, not just on what's missing, but on why it's gone. This is the silent ripple your decision creates. When you stop reaching out, it disrupts the familiar rhythm. They may feel puzzled, even unsettled, as they replay conversations and actions in their mind, trying to understand the shift. Did they overlook something? Were they too comfortable? The silence forces them to look inward, searching for answers. And while they reflect, so should you. Stoicism reminds us that the only thing we control is our own mind. As Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Waste no more time arguing what a good person should be. Be one." This is your chance to turn inward, to ask yourself the hard questions. Were you chasing their attention because you wanted them, or because you needed them to validate your worth? Were you compromising your boundaries just to keep the connection alive? These are not questions of guilt, but of clarity. Consider this. If you were always the one initiating, always the one holding the relationship together, what were you losing in the process? Were you becoming someone you didn't recognize, bending and stretching yourself to fit their expectations? By stepping back, you're not just creating space for them to reflect. You're also giving yourself the opportunity to rediscover who you are without the weight of their expectations. Think of a sculptor chiseling away at a block of marble. Each strike of the hammer isn't just removing stone, it's revealing the masterpiece hidden within. Your silence is the hammer, stripping away the noise and distractions so you can uncover your truest self. Epictetus taught, "No man is free who is not master of himself." Mastery of self means letting go of the need to control their reactions or seek their approval. It's about asking, am I living authentically? This pause isn't just about them noticing what they lost. It's about you realizing what you gained, your own independence and inner peace. It's natural to wonder if they'll miss you, if they'll come back, or if they'll even notice the shift. But here's the truth. Those questions are not for you to answer. Their reflections are their own, and whether or not they see your value doesn't diminish it. What matters is that you use this silence to grow. Let it be a mirror that reflects not your mistakes, but your potential. Imagine a garden left untended. The weeds grow wild, choking out the beauty that once flourished. Your self-reflection is the act of pruning, clearing away the habits, fears, and doubts that held you back. And as you nurture this inner garden, it becomes a place of strength and peace, unshaken by external storms. While they replay the past, you're building the future. You're rediscovering your values, redefining your boundaries, and reclaiming your sense of self-worth. This isn't about waiting for their response. It's about creating your own. As Seneca said, "As is a tale, so is life. Not how long it is, but how good it is what matters." Your silence isn't empty. It's the quiet hum of transformation, the stillness where growth takes root. Whether or not they return is irrelevant. What matters is that you've stopped chasing and started becoming. In this space, you're not just learning to live without their validation, you're learning to thrive because of your own. This is the strength that Stoicism offers, and it's yours to claim. Number 3, when they test the strength of your silence. Imagine a fortress standing tall on a hill. The stronger the walls, the harder they are to breach. But even the strongest fortress is tested, not to destroy it, but to see if it can hold. When you stop reaching out, they might probe those walls. Maybe it's a casual message, an attention-grabbing post, or even a situation designed to pull you back in. These aren't always deliberate manipulations. Often it's a subconscious way of gauging whether they still hold sway over you. At this point, fear becomes the greatest enemy. Fear of losing them, fear that they're moving on, fear that your silence isn't having the impact you hoped for. It's tempting to react, to send a message, to break the quiet in a moment of doubt. But that reaction doesn't come from strength. It comes from insecurity. This is where Stoic principles become your greatest ally. As Epictetus said, "No man is free who is not master of himself." When they test your boundaries, it's an opportunity, not a threat. It's a chance to show them, and yourself, that your actions are rooted in purpose, not impulse. The moment you pause and choose your response carefully, you reclaim control over the situation and over your emotions. Picture this. They send you a message after days of silence. Maybe it's a simple, "Hey," or something that seems loaded with meaning. The old you might rush to reply, driven by excitement or anxiety, hoping to re-establish the connection. But the Stoic version of you pauses. You ask yourself, does replying serve my values? Am I responding out of fear or out of strength? This isn't about ignoring them to gain power. It's about making choices that align with your self-respect. Think of it like a game of chess. Every move you make has consequences. A hasty decision might seem satisfying in the moment, but it can cost you the match later. Responding impulsively often reinforces the dynamic of chasing, diminishing your sense of independence. Instead, consider your options thoughtfully. Maybe you choose to reply with calm detachment, or maybe you decide to let the silence linger. Either way, your choice comes from a place of confidence, not desperation. Marcus Aurelius reminds us, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. Their tests are outside events. How you respond is entirely within your control. When you maintain your boundaries, you send a clear message, not just to them, but to yourself, that your worth isn't tied to their validation. This strength is magnetic, not because it manipulates others, but because it shows a rare quality, self-possession. They may test you not to challenge your independence, but to understand where they stand. It's human nature to want to feel connected and valued. However, when you've stepped back, you're also inviting them to reflect. Are they reaching out because they miss you, or because they fear losing control? This is a moment of clarity for both of you. Imagine a river cutting through a valley. The water flows with purpose, shaping the land over time. If the river changes course, the valley doesn't collapse. It adapts. Your silence is like that river, creating space for reflection and growth. By maintaining your boundaries, you're not blocking connection. You're reshaping it into something stronger and more intentional. It's natural to wonder if they're trying to move on, or if they'll notice your absence. But the real question is this: are you staying true to your values? A Stoic doesn't act to elicit a reaction, but to maintain their inner peace. When you resist the urge to respond emotionally, you're not rejecting them, you're prioritizing yourself. This isn't about manipulation, it's about authenticity. When you refrain from engaging in their tests, you're showing that your self-worth isn't up for negotiation. You're not dismissing their efforts, but you're also not letting them dictate your actions. As Seneca said, "He who is brave is free." By staying composed, you demonstrate bravery. Not the kind that fights battles, but the kind that holds firm in the face of uncertainty. In the end, their tests reveal more about their own insecurities than your value. And your response, measured, intentional, and grounded, reveals your strength. This isn't about winning or losing, it's about living in alignment with who you are. When you choose self-mastery over emotional impulsivity, You're not just navigating relationships, you're transforming them. So, let their tests come. Let them wonder about the fortress you've built. The strength of your silence doesn't come from walls meant to keep them out, but from the foundation of respect you've laid for yourself. They'll either rise to meet you at this new level, or they won't. Either way, you've already won the most important battle, the one within yourself. Number 4. When silence becomes the answer. Imagine a flame burning steadily in a dark room. It's bright, consistent, and easy to overlook because it's always there. Then, one day, the flame goes out, and the absence is glaring. The same thing happens when you pull back. Suddenly, they're left wondering, what changed? Where did the warmth go? This shift, often referred to as seeking closure, isn't unusual. Someone who seemed indifferent or distant may suddenly reach out, curious about your silence. They might send a message. "Why haven't you texted? Did I do something wrong?" At that moment, you may feel the urge to explain yourself, to provide clarity or soothe their confusion. But the question remains, do you owe them an answer? Marcus Aurelius once said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." Their curiosity, their need for answers, is the external event. Your response, however, is entirely within your control. It's not about being dismissive. It's about understanding that your peace and emotional balance are priorities. Sometimes, the strongest statement you can make is through silence. Picture a mirror. When you step back, you allow them to see their own reflection clearly for the first time. This is what your silence does. It forces introspection. They may replay conversations, moments, or actions, trying to understand what changed. This process can be uncomfortable, even unsettling, but it's also valuable. It gives them the chance to evaluate their role and actions, something that explanations from you could never achieve. Your instinct might be to step in and clarify, to resolve their confusion. But here's the truth. Closure isn't something you can give. It's something they must find for themselves. Engaging in a conversation might feel like the compassionate thing to do, but often it reopens wounds you've worked to close. It pulls you back into an emotional space you've intentionally stepped away from. The cost of that engagement, your peace of mind, may be too high. As Epictetus taught, it's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. Their questions are not your responsibility. Your responsibility lies in maintaining the boundaries you've set for yourself. Boundaries are not walls meant to isolate. They are gates that protect what you hold dear. When you choose not to respond, it's not an act of cruelty. It's an affirmation that your well-being comes first. Imagine a tree shedding its leaves in the fall. It doesn't explain itself to the wind or the earth. It simply lets go, knowing that this cycle is necessary for its growth. Your silence is like that shedding. It's a natural part of moving forward. Their need for answers might be genuine, but it doesn't mean you are obligated to provide them. Some may wonder, isn't silence unfair? Doesn't it create more confusion? The truth is, silence can be the most honest response. It signals that the chapter has closed, without reopening wounds or prolonging a dynamic that no longer serves you. As Seneca said, "It is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more, that is poor." By remaining silent, you avoid the craving for validation or closure from someone else. There's also a deeper lesson in silence. It teaches self-reliance. When you resist the urge to explain or justify, you stand firmly in your decision. This isn't about punishing them or leaving them in the dark. It's about preserving your own light, protecting the clarity you've gained by stepping away. Imagine a river flowing steadily toward the sea. It doesn't pause to explain its path to every rock or bend it encounters. It moves forward with purpose. You are that river. Their questions, their curiosity, are the rocks along the way. By continuing your journey without stopping to justify your course, you honor your own progress. When they seek answers, they're looking for closure. But closure isn't something you can hand over like a gift. It's something they must build themselves, brick by brick, through their own reflection and understanding. Your silence provides the space for them to do that. And in that space, both of you grow, independently, authentically. In the end, your decision to remain silent isn't an absence of action. It's a deliberate choice to prioritize your peace, your growth, and your values. They may or may not understand it, but that's not what matters. What matters is that you've chosen to move forward with strength and clarity. Sometimes, the most compassionate thing you can do is let silence speak for you. It communicates what words cannot, that your well-being is not up for negotiation, and that you've chosen to honor your boundaries. This is not just Stoicism in practice, it's self-respect in action. Number 5. When emotions rise and clarity prevails. Imagine the tide pulling back from the shore, leaving the sand exposed and the seabed visible for the first time. When you step back and remove your presence, this is what happens emotionally. They're left to confront what was beneath the surface. The attention you once gave freely has vanished, and in its place, a void emerges. That void can spark waves of emotion, anger, sadness, relief. But what do these emotions really mean, and how should you respond? At first, they might feel anger. Maybe they send sharp messages, venting frustration over the change. Their words might cut, filled with accusations or questions designed to provoke a response. But as Epictetus wisely said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." Their anger is a reflection of their internal state, not a command for your action. Reacting impulsively only pulls you into their emotional storm. Instead, you stay grounded, letting their emotions pass like a passing thunderstorm. Sadness might follow. They may express how much they miss the connection, tugging at your emotions and tempting you to comfort them. It's human to want to ease someone's pain, but Stoicism teaches restraint. Marcus Aurelius reminds us, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." Their sadness, while valid, is theirs to process. By allowing them space to feel without rushing to fill the void, you honor their journey while maintaining your own boundaries. Then there's the possibility of relief. They might feel a sense of lightness, as if your absence aligns with something they already wanted. This can sting, but Stoicism provides clarity. Seneca said, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste much of it. If they're happier without you, it's not a measure of your worth. It's simply a sign that the connection wasn't meant to continue." This realization frees you to move forward with dignity and purpose. As emotions ripple through them, questions might ripple through you. Does their anger mean I was wrong? Does their sadness mean I should return? Does their relief mean I wasn't enough? These are natural questions, but they miss the fundamental truth. Your value is not tied to how someone reacts to your absence. Their feelings are fleeting, shaped by circumstances and time. Your worth, however, is built on something far deeper: your character, your actions, and your adherence to your values. Think of a mountain standing tall through the seasons. Snow falls, rains batter its slopes, and the sun scorches its peaks, but the mountain remains unshaken. This is the strength Stoicism offers. You are the mountain, and their emotions are the weather. They may rage or calm, but they do not define you. When they express anger, it's easy to feel guilt. When they show sadness, it's tempting to feel responsible. And when they reveal relief, it's natural to question yourself. But as Stoicism teaches, these emotions belong to them. You can't control their feelings, nor should you let them dictate your sense of self. As Seneca said, "He suffers more than necessary who suffers before it is necessary." By focusing on their emotional waves, you risk being pulled under. Instead, stand firm in the clarity that your decision to step back was deliberate, rooted in self-respect and understanding. This isn't about indifference or playing games. It's about recognizing that true strength comes from within. By refusing to let their emotions sway your peace, you embody the resilience that Stoic philosophy encourages. You show that while you care, you won't compromise your boundaries for temporary comfort. Imagine a candle in a dark room. It doesn't chase the shadows, it simply shines. When you step back, you're not extinguishing your light. You're allowing it to illuminate in a way that doesn't depend on anyone else. Their reaction doesn't define your brightness. It reveals how they see themselves in its glow. So, as their emotions shift, whether with anger, sadness, or relief, remember this. Emotions are fleeting, but your inner stability can endure. Let their responses come and go, like waves against the shore, while you remain steady. This is the essence of Stoicism, not to be unmoved by life's challenges, but to meet them with grace, clarity, and strength. In the end, it's not about whether they return or stay away. It's about how you navigate the space you've created. Your silence is not an absence, it's a presence, a statement of self-worth and inner peace. And as you stand firm, you'll find that the tides of emotion, both theirs and yours, eventually recede, leaving behind the clarity you've sought all along. Number 6. When your worth speaks louder than their validation. Imagine a diamond buried beneath the earth. Its value isn't determined by who discovers it or admires it. It exists because of the diamond's inherent strength and rarity. Your worth operates the same way. It doesn't depend on someone's acknowledgement or approval. It exists in who you are, especially when no one is watching, when no validation is offered. When you step back and stop reaching out, something shifts. They begin to reflect on the role you played in their life. Maybe they remember your steady presence, how you remained composed under pressure, or how you didn't let outside circumstances dictate your actions. But here's the truth. While they process these realizations, your focus shouldn't be on them. It should be on strengthening your own foundation. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "It never ceases to amaze me. We all love ourselves more than other people, but care more about their opinion than our own." This is the trap you must avoid. Depending on their attention or approval only pulls you away from genuine inner strength. Your value doesn't waver because of someone else's thoughts or actions. Let's say you've chosen silence, withdrawing from the cycle of constant communication. Naturally, your absence may leave a noticeable void. They might begin to wonder, who is this person who can step back so confidently? Why do they seem so grounded, so self-assured? These questions, though they may seem directed at you, are really reflections of their own shifting perspective. During this time, you're not sitting idly by, hoping for their return. You're using the space to look inward, to ask yourself, am I living up to my own standards? Am I holding to my principles? This is where true self-respect lies, not in waiting for someone else to validate you, but in knowing you're aligned with your own values. Picture a tree in the middle of a storm. The wind might bend its branches, but its roots hold firm. That's what stepping back does. It roots you in your strength. It's not about playing games or proving a point. It's about showing yourself that your peace, your worth, and your happiness are not up for negotiation. They might start to feel curious, even miss the steadiness you brought to their life. The way you handle situations with grace, or your ability to remain unshaken by fleeting emotions, these qualities are magnetic. But whether they return or not doesn't determine your value. As Epictetus said, know first who you are and then adorn yourself accordingly. Your worth isn't found in someone else's perception. It's rooted in the person you choose to be. Here's the beauty of this shift. It's not about them. Whether they recognize your value or not, you remain secure in who you are. Confidence that comes from self-awareness is rare, and it's powerful. When you stop chasing, it's not a loss, it's a declaration of strength. You're proving to yourself and the world that you don't need external validation to feel complete. Imagine a candle in a dark room. It doesn't shine brighter because someone notices it, and it doesn't dim because they turn away. It simply glows steadily because that's its nature. That's your worth. It doesn't flicker based on someone else's presence or absence. The questions might come to your mind. Will they return? Will they see what I brought to the table? These are natural thoughts, but they miss the point. What matters is that you see your worth. What matters is that you live each day as someone who honors their principles and respects their own boundaries. When you embrace this mindset, you realize something powerful. Whether they come back or not becomes secondary. Your value isn't something they give you, it's something you've always had. This is the essence of Stoic wisdom. As Seneca said, no person has the power to have everything they want, but it is in their power not to want what they don't have. You've already chosen strength by stepping back. Now, let that strength guide you, grounded in the unshakable truth of who you are. Whether they realize it or not, your worth will always shine, because it's rooted in something no one else can take away. Number 7. When silence brings them back. Picture a ship drifting away from the shore. The further it sails, the more noticeable the distance becomes. That's what happens when you step back, stop reaching out, and let silence fill the space where your attention once was. Then, seemingly out of nowhere, they reach out. Maybe it's curiosity, a sense of loss, or even the realization that your presence was more valuable than they thought. But here's the real question. What do you do next? The instinct to respond immediately, fueled by excitement or hope, can be overwhelming. A message from them might feel like an invitation to pick up where things left off. But this is where Stoicism offers clarity. As Marcus Aurelius said, "You always own the option of having no opinion. There is never any need to get worked up or to trouble your soul about things you can't control." When they reach out, your response shouldn't be dictated by impulse. Instead, take a moment to pause. Breathe. Think not about their intentions, but about your own. What do you truly want? Are you seeking to re-establish the connection out of genuine interest, or are you reacting to the temporary high of their attention? These are the questions that bring clarity. Imagine their message reads, "Hey, it's been a while. How are you?" In the past, you might have seen this as a green light to pour out your feelings, to reignite the connection with urgency. But a grounded Stoic approach would have you respond with calmness. A simple, "I'm doing well, thanks. Hope you're good too," says everything it needs to, without giving away your power. It's polite, measured, and shows you're not ruled by their sudden interest. Epictetus reminds us, freedom is the only worthy goal in life. It is won by disregarding things that lie beyond our control. Their reasons for reaching out, their emotions, or their expectations are not within your control. What is in your control is how you choose to engage. By responding with purpose and restraint, you demonstrate that your worth isn't tied to their validation. Think of it like a chess game. A move has been made, but not every move demands an immediate reaction. The most strategic players take their time, considering each option with clarity. When you pause before responding, you're playing the long game, not to win them back, but to remain true to yourself. Their message might spark questions in your mind. Are they missing me? Do they regret stepping away? Is this an opportunity to rebuild? These are natural thoughts, but they can cloud your judgment if left unchecked. Stoicism teaches us to focus on the present moment and what aligns with our values, not to chase fleeting emotions or second-guess someone else's motives. Imagine a river flowing steadily. Obstacles in its path don't stop its progress. They simply become part of its journey. Your silence and composure should mirror that river, unshaken, purposeful, and confident. When they reach out, their message is just a pebble in the stream. Your strength lies in not letting it disrupt your flow. By not rushing to rekindle the connection or letting emotions take over, you send a clear message. You're not here to play games. You're here to live with integrity. This isn't about ignoring them or being cold. It's about prioritizing your inner peace and acting from a place of balance. Seneca said, "We suffer more often in imagination than in reality." Don't let the momentary excitement or uncertainty of their message create imaginary stakes. Their return isn't about proving anything. It's a chance to reaffirm what you've already learned about yourself. Whether they want to reconnect or simply satisfy their curiosity is secondary to your ability to stay composed. When they reach out, respond in a way that reflects your growth. Let your words show that you're calm, confident, and grounded. You're not chasing, you're not reacting, you're simply being. This is the essence of Stoicism: control over your own mind and actions, no matter what external forces come your way. Ultimately, your worth doesn't depend on who reaches out or why. It's rooted in how you carry yourself when they do. Their message might close the distance temporarily, but your strength lies in knowing that you never needed their approval to stand tall. Number 8. Walking away without losing yourself. Imagine a bird that has been caged for years. One day, the door is left open. At first it hesitates, unsure of the world beyond. But with each flap of its wings, it finds its strength, realizing the sky was always its home. That's what stepping back feels like: liberation from the cage of seeking someone else's approval or attention. When you stop reaching out, it's natural to feel the weight of uncertainty pressing in. Will they notice? Will they care? These questions can echo in your mind, tempting you to slip back into old patterns. But Stoicism teaches us to shift our focus inward. As Marcus Aurelius said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." The real question isn't about their response. It's about how you choose to respond to this moment of stillness. By stepping back, you're reclaiming control over your emotions. You're no longer operating from a place of trying to prove your worth through their attention. Instead, you're grounding yourself in your values, your goals, and your peace. Think of it like tending to a garden. When you stop pouring all your energy into one patch of soil, you notice the flowers blooming elsewhere. Maybe they'll reach out, curious about your silence. Perhaps they'll reflect on your absence and start to question what it means. Or maybe they won't. But here's the truth. Their reaction doesn't define your worth. As Epictetus taught, freedom is the only worthy goal in life. It is won by disregarding things that lie beyond our control. This isn't about abandoning them or being indifferent. It's about prioritizing yourself, letting go of the need to control the situation. You're stepping into a new kind of freedom, one where your peace isn't tethered to someone else's response. Whether they notice your absence or not, you remain steady, knowing your value isn't up for negotiation. Consider the dynamic you've been in. Were you the one constantly keeping the connection alive, always initiating, always reaching out? Now, as you step back, the silence may feel deafening at first. But then, something beautiful happens. The noise of overthinking fades, and you find space to breathe. You're no longer waiting by your phone or second-guessing every word. Instead, you're focused on your own growth. Imagine a river that's been redirected after flowing in one direction for years. At first, the shift feels unnatural, even disruptive. But soon, the water carves a new path, stronger and more purposeful. That's what this process does for you. It redirects your energy toward yourself, creating a flow that's steady and unshaken by external circumstances. If they eventually reach out, it's not a signal to revert to old patterns. It's an opportunity to respond with the calm and clarity you've cultivated. And if they don't, that's their path to walk, not yours. You've already chosen a different one rooted in resilience and dignity. As Seneca said, begin at once to live and count each separate day as a separate life. By letting go of the need for their validation, you're living fully in the present. You're no longer burdened by what-ifs or trapped in the cycle of hoping for a specific outcome. You might wonder, does this mean I've given up? What if I lose them forever? But these questions miss the point. This isn't about loss. It's about rediscovery of yourself, your values, and your purpose. True confidence doesn't come from holding on to someone else. It comes from letting go and trusting that you are enough, no matter what. Picture a lighthouse standing strong against the crashing waves. Its light doesn't waver, even in the fiercest storm. That's the kind of inner strength you're building. Whether they notice your light or not doesn't change its brilliance. In the end, this journey isn't about whether they come back. It's about what you gain by stepping away. Emotional clarity, self-respect, and a renewed sense of purpose. You're no longer chasing, you're choosing. And that choice, the decision to prioritize your peace over their approval, is where true freedom lies. As you embrace this path, remember one final truth from the Stoics. He who has a why to live can bear almost any how. Your why is your peace, your growth, and your unwavering commitment to yourself. No matter what happens next, you've already won by refusing to compromise your worth. Number 10. Reclaiming your power and moving forward. Imagine standing at the edge of a cliff, looking out over an endless horizon. You've stepped back from the noise, the doubts, and the endless effort to reach someone who didn't meet you halfway. In this moment, the silence feels vast, maybe even overwhelming, but it's also freeing. This is your chance to reclaim your power, to choose your path without waiting for anyone else to validate it. When you stop chasing, everything shifts. The energy you once poured into someone else is now available for you to invest in yourself. But questions still linger. Will they notice my absence? Will they reach out? Do they care? These are natural, but Stoicism teaches us to let go of what we cannot control. As Epictetus said, freedom is the only worthy goal in life. It is won by disregarding things that lie beyond our control. The truth is, they might notice, they might reflect on your absence, or they might not. But their reaction isn't the point. The real transformation happens within you. Each day you resist the urge to reach out, you grow stronger. You prove to yourself that your peace isn't tied to someone else's presence. Picture a pot of water on the stove. If you keep stirring, it never settles. But when you let it be, clarity returns. By stepping back, you're giving yourself that clarity. You're creating space for growth, self-reflection, and the freedom to rediscover what truly matters to you. If they reach out, it's not your cue to fall back into old patterns. It's a moment to pause and reflect. What do I want? Does reconnecting align with my values? A measured response, rooted in self-respect, shows that you're no longer swayed by fleeting emotions. And if they don't reach out, that's not a reflection of your worth. It's simply their choice, and it doesn't diminish your value. Your worth is found in your actions, your character, and your commitment to your principles. It's in the way you carry yourself when no one is watching. As Marcus Aurelius said, the happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts. By focusing on your growth, you ensure that your life is driven by purpose, not by the opinions or actions of others. This journey isn't about winning someone back or proving a point. It's about reclaiming your energy and using it to build the life you deserve. Whether they notice your absence, reach out, or move on, doesn't change the fact that you've chosen to prioritize yourself. That's the real victory. So, as you move forward, ask yourself, what am I building with this newfound energy? How can I use it to become the best version of myself? Every step you take towards self-improvement is a step away from needing external validation. Let this moment be a turning point. Stop chasing, start growing, and trust that the right connections will come naturally when you're living authentically. As Seneca said, luck is what happens when preparation meets opportunity. Focus on preparing yourself, and the opportunities you deserve will follow. If this resonates with you, take action. Hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the bell icon to stay connected with insights like these. Share in the comments. What have you learned about yourself by stepping back? Your journey can inspire someone else to take their first step toward freedom. Let's continue this path together, one choice, one moment of clarity at a time.